Hey everyone, welcome to West Coast Muscle Saws. Nice day on the Pacific Coast today, Pacific Northwest over here in Oregon. 72 degrees outside, excuse me, very nice weather. What I got on the screen right here is my neighbor, Adrian. He was showing me a saw he had in his garage, excuse me, and it's a STIHL 066, a Survivor, very high performance muscle saw. That's his information. He wants to sell it, and I looked at it, and what I found with it was that the module is breaking down. It's got the 2 lamination, not the 3, the 2 lamination. You can pick those up at STIHL. I run you a little over $100, I believe, or you can pick up a aftermarket one. I don't know if I have much trust in the aftermarkets, but anyway, it's there. Anyway, it's ADIAN. boat, B-O-A-T, at yahoo.com. Adrian's his name. It's a STIHL 066. Phone number 541-991-0067. It's near Eugene, Oregon, and here's a couple of pictures of it. It's got the aftermarket air cleaner on it. It's got appears to be a new looking cylinder. I did look at it. It did start for me and run, but would cut out. I did some testing on it for him and determined that the module's going bad. And it's zoom in there so I can take a peek at it. It's not in bad shape. I mean, I think with a little work, you could have you a real great muscle saw. Anyway, just wanted to put that out there for you. If you, that's my garden out back. Sorry about that. If you have some interest in there, let me put this up here one more time so you can give him a call or email him. What I want to do today is I get a lot of questions on the carburetors, on vintage saws and the newer ones, on repairing them. And a lot of guys will say they put a kit in it and still have issues. Well, let's go over a couple things here. This is my Super Pro 125. I just want to do a quick some diagnostics for you before you even open up the carburetor. A couple things that's got to function properly, of course, is of course the impulse lines, running the fuel pump, fuel lines got to be good, fuel going to it, and make sure you don't have an air leak, which you can block off the intake and block off the exhaust, and using your pressure vacuum gauge you can determine if you've got an issue before you even start working on that saw. Sit down a couple things here. I'm not a hat person, I'll tell you that. I just had to put this hat on because I did a lot of business with the Cannon bars, super nice bar. And I ran into him at the logging conference and he threw me a hat out there. Anyway, carburetor, this is a Walboro, but it's actually it says McCullough on it. That was very popular back then. And you can have some issues with it. A few tests you want to do. You can use your pressure vacuum gauge, or they make a nice little gauge here for the carburetors. Can you see that all right? Because we're going to be, let me make sure we got this going good here. I'll zoom in a little bit. You won't be seeing me much, but anyway, we're looking at a carburetor, not me. I'll learn a little bit about some of these old vintage carburetors. I went to many schools, lots of schools on carburation, Tillotson, Walboro, Zama, all of them. And the technicians were just unbelievable. Really, the guys that actually designed these carburetors were putting on the school. And I learned quite a bit about how to test them and saved me a lot of headaches. Of course, you can take the carburetor off, look it over, make sure it's clean. Now you want to look at the butterflies, the valves, make sure there's no side play. horizontal side plate. Make sure they're closing properly. And look in there. Now there's two different versions. One has the nozzle in the middle, and the other is cast into the venturi. This one's cast into the venturi. Tillotson was famous for the nozzle, very popular. And of course, everything's got to be sealed. You can't have any leaks. On this McCulloch carburetor, this is the fuel pump, pressure vacuum, where it gets its fuel pump to activate the diaphragm to make it work. And it comes off the manifold underneath the underneath the fuel tank. If you had a 125 apart, you've seen that one hose going down there. The upper hose, it actually goes down underneath the tank, plugs into the manifold. That's why you got to have everything sealed before you even start working on your carburetor. You want to make sure you don't have issues somewhere else. And the McCulloch one, hook up your pressure gauge. Check your pressure gauge before you start. I've seen many technicians not test their gauge and just chase vacuum leaks everywhere and come to find out they had a little pinhole or something not working on their gauge. So you pump it up first, make sure it holds. Of course, this one doesn't hold when you pump on the nipple here for the fuel pump. And the reason being is on all these carburetors, they were multi-use, multifunctional. And most of your carburetors without this nozzle, or without this little nipple here, the passage was right here. So what you would do on this one, of course you can see it's not holding, when you put your finger over that, and you can see it's holding, and then bleeds off here. So you got to make sure this gasket is sealing there when you put this on your saw on your 125 on this particular carb. Check that, make sure you don't have a little leakage right there, a little bit of a vacuum leak, and you'll have some run issues. Another thing, you know, you can kit the carburetor, and I've had guys say, I'll put a kit in it, don't work. You can use a sonic cleaner, but you got to be careful using a sonic cleaner. Take everything apart. Sonic cleaner is a high vibration, high frequency vibration with a soap formula. I use them, but you got to be careful. And the reason you got to be careful with them, it's a vibration, and if you leave it in there too long, you will actually bond the components together. Things will start tightening up because of the vibration. So, you know, don't leave it in there very long. 10 minutes or less. Turn the heat up on it. It'll be fine. Before you break it apart, this is a twin jet, high speed, low speed. Turn those in gently and seat them. Take the hose off of the fuel pump, put it onto the inlet. With both these turned in, we should get a seal here. Let's double check this again. We don't. So we've got a leak. Just a minute here. We've got a leak on the inlet needle. You can actually feel it right here. So you'd replace that inlet needle. Let me close my door. That's not me running squibbit out there. Just a minute here. Let me close that. Put just a drop of fuel right on that needle. Sometimes when they're dry, they will leak like that. Okay, you can hear it bleeding off. So you'd replace that. I'm going to have to get a needle for it. I don't have one, but what I want to show you also, let me I think we also got a leak right here. Just a minute. I think I found a leak on the hose. Let's do something here. I'll be right back, guys. Hang on. I think we got a leak on this nipple right here. Okay, I'm going to have to stop till I get an inlet needle on it. I don't have one in my shop. But another test I want to show you that really works on these, if the needle checks out fine. Is there a test that you can do, and I'll show you how to do it. On the high speed and low speed. What you would do is to turn both jets in, high speed, low speed. You'd have a reading on your gauge, it would be solid, and then you would, in that little atmospheric hole, you would just gently, with a probe, push in there, and it should seal. That's good. And then you would check your high speed or low speed by turning about one turn, while it still was a good reading, and then you would push that and it would bleed off. Same thing on the high speed end if you've done the low speed. Turn it out a full turn. Push in there with your probe, and it'll bleed off. You can watch that gauge, and by doing this on a good carburetor, you can see how fast it bleeds down. Noting if it's slow, you got some restriction in your high speed or your low speed metering system. And that way you can zero in on what's going on. You may have kitted it, but you didn't get the debris from the underneath the soft plugs, or there's a little passage that's plugged, and you can determine what's going on. Sorry about my inlet needle not functioning properly, guys. It kind of shot my test all to hell. But anyway, that's what I want to talk about today, and I'm going to let you guys go, and I'll get me a kit, and we'll fix this up later. You guys have a great day.